over more than it's. I can't say which one's my favorite because, you know, T-Bird Throttle is so good. Horace H. Hoover is so good. And they all satisfy different cravings that of like different genres, superheroes, mystery, occult, and then horror. And I was just like, this is so good. And I did something I never did before. I reached out to Brian Bow and I commissioned artwork from him. I don't know why. I never did that before. Him and Josh Howard, I commissioned artwork from. And we started talking. Next thing, Brian, we're talking about music. And honestly, I don't think a day goes by where me and you aren't goofing on something or bouncing ideas back and forth. You know, so I consider you, even though we've never met, we've never physically been within 1,000 miles of each other, I consider you one of my friends. So I'm just so glad to help you launch this.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Okay. I could see you.
I couldn't ask for more.
Oh yeah. This is fun. Plus, I like comics, and I want comics to succeed. You know what I mean? Like I don't understand this. You must fail in order for me to succeed. You know, when Wolf and Batsy hits the mainstream, I don't know. I'm an electrician. Maybe I could be a grip on your movie someday. You know. You know, you never know. Oh, so
if Zagzag ever creates a Frankenstein monster, you can hook up the electrodes.
Oh, there you go. I want the jumpstart cables to put it on the bolts.
Right. There you go.
So tell. I don't know how many people in my audience know what are Wolf and Batsy.
Okay, the elevator pitch for Wolf and Batsy.
Don't you hate that? I just put you on the spot. Don't you hate that?
Wolf and Batsy is the continuing adventures of a ferocious werewolf and a cute female vampire as they wander the earth in search of a place to call home. But everywhere they go, they end up eating people and getting run out of town. Right.
Yeah. I remember one of the first things I said to you. I think I emailed you. I was like, "Where is this set?" No, I said it in the video. I did a video. That's right. A 10-minute video about Wolf and Batsy #1, and then you responded to it. One of the things I said was, "Where is this set?" You know, you have like a girl who's dressed like a Germanic shepherdess, and then they drive a car. And you said it's set in Hammer World, wherever that. No, I'm wrong. I'm lying, everybody. Good night.
No, I said it's set in a horror Never land.
That's right. Yes.
And that's not on purpose. That's not something I calculated. That just comes from growing up on Universal horror movies, which, I mean, if you really examine those movies, tell me where they take place and when they take place. I mean, people drive cars, people have horses and buggies. Nobody has a telephone, but they, have all the electronic, futuristic equipment of Frankenstein's lab. The clothes are 1930s and 40s fashions. They have Germanic names, but they speak with accents from Pasadena or England. It's a never land of horror. Right. And a lot of horror movies are like that. So to me, it's just timelessness. Although I do have kind of a fuzzy timeline in my head of where in history they are. I used to have a friend. Well, I still have a friend. He's still a friend. He just moved away, and then I moved away. But so we don't see each other anymore. But we'd still talk online and stuff. Got a buddy of mine named John Walsh, mutual friend with Josh Howard, actually, friend of mine when I lived in California. We used to hang out all the time, and he always used to say, he's like, when I read your comics, I just assume they take place in Bryan Land. And things just work the way they work there. I don't try to think of it realistically.
Well, I mean, I'm doing this comic this Sunday on my Sunday comics, and this comic kind of takes place in Bryan Land because they go to modern Japan, and then the next panel it's Nightcrawler that might as well have they're in like Dusseldorf, Germany. And villagers there might as well be extras in a Wolf and Batsy comic, and then they come to modern New York. So it's just a comic book trope that you. Yeah,
well, I mean, Marvel Comics. I mean, that's in my DNA also. I mean, that's part of my upbringing as well. So,
I love that. And then Brian got me. I was like, Brian, recommend like 3 good Hammer horror films. And it's funny because I grew up watching Hammer horror films, but I watched them on Sunday morning on network TV. And seeing them uncut is a completely different experience. I wasn't prepared, but
Yep.
you know, and I tried once to stump Brian with horror, and he was just like, nope. Not only did you correct me, but I think you told me who like the second director was, and who did the artwork on the. I was like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah. They couldn't teach me algebra to save their lives, but somehow I have an encyclopedic knowledge of horror movies.
Right. Yeah. I think of Calvin and Hobbes, like they try to teach us, and like I'm Spaceman Spliff,
Right.
So this is all color, right? This is full color art book because let's face it, your comic is famous for being black and white.
There is, My comic is normally full color covers and then black and white interiors. But there's only one black and white piece in this whole book, and it's the very first image. I just put it in there. I figured it needed to be there for the sake of history, because it is a complete book of the full page illustrations. And the very first drawing I did of Wolf and Batsy was this, black and white drawing, where it was the first time I ever drew them. And I was like, it was like love at first sight. I was like, yep, I can think of a million stories about those characters. And it was the first time I ever drew them together. And so I did put that on the first page. It's also the first page of Wolf and Batsy #1. So that one didn't need any color, but it needed to be there to establish the beginning. Right. And then the rest of the book follows through all the color illustrations.
Yeah, it's history. If you're gonna do Superman, you got to have like the first Superman. I
put dates on the each page of the illustration, like the year it was done, and so you can follow it from when I created Wolf and Batsy in the early 2000s all the way through to last year. In fact, I'm the last few pages of this book are still what's the word? Malleable, since we haven't gone to print yet, and I'm contemplating sneaking a couple of 2025 pieces in there that have not been released that nobody's seen yet. One of which is the cover for the new trade paperback volume 1, which I'm just really happy with. It's probably one of my favorite drawings I've done of the characters, and I thought, how can I leave that out of a full color art book? So I might have to sneak that in at the very end, but I haven't completely decided to do that, because the cover says what does the cover say? 1999 to 2024, right? So there's that control freak part of me that wants to stick to the theme. But I did knock out a couple this year before I finalized the page count, and there might be a couple in there that might sneak in for 2025. Thank you, Ara. Just back the campaign. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I was gonna back. I was waiting for us to go live, so I had to wait because you weren't live when I earlier today. But I think this is a good point. I'm going to show you a trailer, so I'm going to make this big and play you trailer.
The trailer's a little long because I felt like I had to explain it a little bit because it's not a comic book, and that's what people are used to from me. So it's a little wordy, but hang in there.
Hello, weirdos. This is Brian Baugh, creator of Wolf and Batsy. Back with you for a new crowdfunding campaign. This time, it's for a very special project, something I've always wanted to do. If you know Wolf and Batsy, you know the story. I created the characters in 1999 and have been drawing comics about them off and on the side of my day job and family life ever since. Along the way, over the years, I have created a lot of full-color illustrations of the characters as cover illustrations for different editions of the comics that have been released in different formats, from print to digital, as promotional pieces, sometimes as private commissions for clients, and some of them just for my own fun. And over the years, I've released most of these illustrations in various places as covers on the actual books, but sometimes just scattered around my various social media and different website galleries. And a certain percentage of them have never been released at all, just because I never got around to it, or there just never seemed to be the right place where it fit. Anyway, I have always had this idea that it would be really nice to do an art book which would have all of these illustrations contained in one place, one volume where you can just sit down and enjoy them all. And so that's what I'm doing. Introducing Open Caskets. Book 1, Wolf and Batsy, the full color illustrations, 1999 to 2024. the first volume in a series of supplemental editions designed to complement the Wolf and Batsy comics. This book will be normal comic book size and format, but with thicker stock covers, nicer, higher quality interior pages for full color printing and presentation, giving you all of the best Wolf and Batsy full color illustrations that I made over all those years, some that you've seen before, some that you've probably never seen. Cover illustrations from past issues, but now with the logos removed, the corner boxes are gone, all that trade dress and other nonsense that buries the artwork on the covers is gone, and you just get the art itself. Unused pieces. Cover designs that were taken all the way to final, but then I decided to do something different. Or again, pieces that I just did for my own amusement, but never released. Anyway, that's the idea, and I hope you guys are gonna like Open Caskets #1. Future volumes will include other content that may also supplement the Wolf and Batsy comics. I've got a lot of ideas. The possibilities are endless. Basically, I've got a whole line of these closed caskets in a morgue, and they're all just waiting to be opened, one by one, in this new little series. For Wolf and Batsy fans, for collectors and completists, or maybe just the non-comics fan who enjoys horror art, featuring monsters, spooky atmosphere, attractive female vampires, and blood. Beware, these things await you. From Bloody Weirdo Comics.
That's awesome. What did I do? I hit the wrong button. I every time I see the Bloody Weirdo Comics logo, that werewolf, I just love that. That is the greatest. You want to tell people where that came from?
Yeah, actually, you can see it if you scroll all the way to the bottom of this campaign page.
Okay.
It's all the way at the bottom. There you go.
I love that. I love that. That
is a drawing I did in kindergarten. I found it in. I was. Long story, but I moved back here from California, where I came back here where I grew up. I was rummaging around in my mom's basement for something else, and I found a box that said Brian's kindergarten drawings or whatever, or first grade drawings. And I went through them, and I found a bunch of drawings that I did of like Jaws, Star Wars, Planet of the Apes, Frankenstein, Wolfman, lots of Wolfman drawings, King Kong. From the late 70s. And that was my favorite one of the Wolfman. And the Wolfman is my favorite monster. So I just thought it was the perfect logo for my own comic book company, which is sort of just like designed to channel all these stories based on my childish interests and obsessions.
I just love it. There you go, guys. There's the proof. You can't argue. This guy's been drawing werewolves since kindergarten. You know, none of those accusations of tourist or grifter or anything. You've been drawing werewolves since.
I need to like post some of the other ones that were in that collection, because I kind of stole them all from that box, brought them back and scanned them in, so I have copies of them. But yeah, like all the Universal monsters are in there. It's pretty funny.
I just love that. I remember when you showed me that look, I was like, that is the cutest thing. Look at that kid. Yeah.
My mom's handwriting on the back of that photo says August 1980. So it was 2 months after, 3 months after The Empire Strikes Back just came out. It was the summer of The Empire Strikes Back. And I had that Wolfman poster on my bedroom wall the whole time I was growing up.
Oh, man. Do you remember those glow-in-the-dark Universal monsters models?
The Aurora models.
Yeah, the Aurora. My brothers had those, and I was such a wuss. I screamed until my father made them throw them away. You know, we had like a mummy, a werewolf, and I think a Frankenstein. Just these three monsters that would glow all night long. Like, so, I like superheroes. I wouldn't be able to sleep in a room with that werewolf staring.
Yeah, that poster used to scare my little cousin Bradley whenever he'd come over to play at my house. I'd have to walk behind him and cover his eyes to walk him into my room so we could play with toys or whatever.
My uncle had these statues, and they were the heads from Easter Island. You know,
Yeah.
they were like obsidian oblong heads. And I
Right.
used to, when I walked into his living room, I would like make like a big wide berth around these. Like, you must have seen Trilogy of Terror with Karen Black.
Yeah.
You know
The doll.
Yeah, that. Oh my God, I was watching that, and my father says that I jumped from the couch. There's 7 kids, we're all on the couch. My father's in another like easy chair, and he says that I jumped from one end of the couch to the other, screaming. So when I saw those things at my Uncle Johnny's house, I avoided them like the, you know. But you embraced all this horror stuff as a kid. Is there anything that scared you as a kid? Like, were you scared of anything? Like Stephen King said that he was terrified of everything, and that's why he wrote horror.
The one movie that kind of scared me when I was a kid, believe it or not, was it would have been 1982. Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D came out, and my cousin Steve from California was visiting, and he must have been like a college age person at that time, and he was visiting at our house, and he was kind of dating the teenage girl that lived across the street, and they wanted to take my mom to see Friday the 13th just to scare her. And of course, me being the kid who loves monster movies, I was like, I want to see it, you know. And so I got to go too.
Was that your first horror movie theater? Is that your first horror movie in the theater?
No. But the thing about that movie was when at that same point in time, around 1982, or maybe just like a little bit after that, there was a real serial killer named what's his name? Alton Coleman, who cut a bloody swath up and down the East Coast, and he did pass through Ohio.
Oh wow!
And so on the news they kept saying serial killer or whatever, and I asked my mom, like, what does that mean? What's a serial killer? And she said, you know, like Jason in Friday the 13th. So being 10, I imagined, oh, so he's like so crazy that he's like superhuman. Like you could hit him in the head. If he came after you, you could hit him in the head with an axe and it wouldn't stop him.
Yeah, and he's got a sack on his head and he's just.
Yeah, that's what I imagined. Completely. I just imagined Jason from Friday the 13th. So when I was in the theater watching Friday the 13th Part 3, I was loving it. I was like, oh, look at all the blood, you know, and I thought Blood and Guts was so cool as a kid. But that night, that was like the only horror movie that gave me nightmares because I was scared to death that Alton Coleman, who was supposedly just like Jason in Friday the 13th, was getting into my house and coming to get me for sure. I was convinced there's no way I was going to survive that guy.
Oh, that's scary. I remember watching The Exorcist on TV as a kid. You know, it was on commercial TV. And that's one of the few horror movies that still scares me to this day. I don't know why. It still scares me. But I watched it, you know, and I got 6 brothers and sisters. My parents, my grandmother were all watching the movie. So it wasn't that scary. But I'll never forget. This is how my family is. Now you know why my personality is the way it is. As I was going to bed, you know, I'm climbing up onto the top bunk. And my mother goes, good night. And Regan is sleeping in the bottom bunk. So that night I didn't sleep a wink, just thinking that there's this devil girl, Linda Blair, throwing up all over the place.
Well, my dad took me to see Alien when it came out, the first Alien, which would have been 79, right? I think 79. So I would have been like in first grade, I think, maybe. But the thing was, you know, my dad I've told this story before, but my dad used to watch the Universal Monster movies on Saturday afternoons, on Saturday afternoon Shock Theater all the time. And I'd just sit and watch with him. And then he bought me like books on like behind the scenes, all those great 70s books that came out that told you how they did the makeup. And my dad would say, now you see, you know, Frankenstein is just a guy with makeup, but King Kong is a little puppet and they just animate him. And he would teach me all that stuff. And so then when Alien came out, I think I've told this story before too. I'll tell it quick, but the night Alien came out, my mom and dad wanted to go see it. So they dropped me and my sister off at my grandparents' house to babysit us. My dad comes home from that movie and he's like, Brian, you have to see this movie because it has the most it has the most realistic monster I've ever seen in a movie, and it's just a guy in a rubber suit, but it looks totally real. And so then I was just so excited to see it, and to me it was just like, you know, a scarier version of Star Wars to me at that age, because I understood that it wasn't real. My dad was really good about helping me understand the difference between fantasy and reality, and I understood that it was just a movie and it was make believe, and I just wanted to see how cool it could look.
And it looked good, man.
Yeah. But like my dad was, I remember my dad saying like it looks way more realistic than Godzilla, which is an understatement. So I got to see Alien at a very young age, and probably scarred me for life, but in a good way.
Marcus, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but this was a New York thing. The Thriller hand coming out of the ground on WPIX.
Yes.
You did see it?
Not as a kid, but I have seen it.
Oh, as a, you know, it had this. First off, it had 6 fingers, which was creepy enough, and it was this claymation that would come out of this like swamp, and it would like grab chill. But the thing that was the creepiest about it, I got to find a YouTube. I'll put a link on later. Was this creepy music in the background that was just unsettling, and I'm gonna say, like, up until like high school, it scared me as a kid, but even up until high school, it gave me the creeps.
Yeah.
You know, they said that scared the hell out of like a whole generation of people.
Yeah.
Gordon brother says, dude, the commercial for Magic, that was really scary as a kid. That was why can't I think of the actor's name now? He plays, you know, he was Odin. Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, right, yeah.
Anthony Hopkins is terrifying in that movie. Yeah, he just plays this like deadpan murderer with a ventriloquist. First off, ventriloquist dummies are terrifying. If you have a ventriloquist dummy in your house, I'm not coming to your house to this day. Yeah. Alton Coleman sounds like a serial killer. Yeah, you name your kid Alton Coleman, you got what you deserved.
Look him up.
I got to look up.
He was my boogeyman when I was a kid.
It's funny. I worked with a guy who was same as you. The Iceman, you know, the killer.
Yeah, Kuklinski.
Yeah, he was, his father was obsessed with like mafia and true crime, so he would like, oh, the Iceman's gonna come and get you. Ah, he said it as an adult he was still scared. Hey pops, how you doing? Gordon, it was creepy. My dad did the same thing with movies, based my career on movie. Oh, okay. Yeah, in my house, Anthony Hopkins. Thanks for reminding me of his name. I think I told you this story. Everybody in my that movie Suspiria. I know you know Suspiria. Mm-hmm. Oh my God! They used to play the Suspiria commercial during Star Trek. It was Channel 11, 7:30. Because I remember as a kid, I would watch Star Trek, and Star Trek was a cheat because it was over at 8:30. So I got to stay up a half hour late if I watched Star Trek. So I'd watch Star Trek, but during it, they would show the commercial for Suspiria. And it started out with this, like, you see the back of this woman's head and she's brushing her hair. And it's roses are red, violets are blue. It's a good day for, and it turns around into skull. Suspiria, all red. And, oh my God, I almost pooped my pants. I would run screaming. So it became like, we got to see this movie. Like everybody in my family, we got to see this. So all my brothers and sisters went to go see Suspiria. And my father took the couch and pushed the couch out and then hid behind the couch. Waiting for him to come home, and he was going to scream, you know, and he fell asleep. So all my brothers and sisters come home, they go to bed, and now my father is snoring out in the living room. And I'm like, what is that noise? So I come out, and I'm like, why is the couch out? Why is my dead? So and my father wakes up, but in his mind, he knows he's going to, so Dad, and he scares the crap out of me. The poor kid who didn't see the movie. That's how my family is.
That's hilarious. Like, yeah, I didn't. I was lucky enough to grow up at the tail end of the horror host craze in the late 70s, but we didn't have Chiller, and here in Ohio we had Dr. Creep. Dr.
Creep, oh my God,
who was just great, and he would make personal appearances all the time, and he lived not real far away from where we lived, actually. So he would appear at the Dayton Mall and stuff, and you got to meet him and get his signed autographs and stuff. Oh, Phantasm. Actually, okay. I don't really have any right to say this, but I kind of got to help on Phantasm 5 because I can't really say I worked on it. I got to help on it a few days because my best friend was the director.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. One of my little bragging rights from my California days.
Is this Dr. Creep?
Yes, there he is, Barry Hobart.
Oh my God.
Now that's a picture of him when he's old. You got to find a picture of him in his prime.
Okay.
The way he looked when I was watching this show, like 1978. Find a picture of him from around then.
I'm looking. I don't see it. It seems to be all old pictures that I can. I mean, there's other horror hosts are they doing them anymore?
Oh, there are people doing that now, but they're, like on the internet or small cable access channels, things like that, I believe. I know there's a few people doing it.
I know there's that woman who advertises in Alterna Comics. What's her name? I can't even think.
Marlena Midnight, is that right?
Yeah, Marlena Midnight, yeah. The Vampira did it, and why can't I think of the one now that with the big Elvira, yeah. Alton Coleman killed 8 people with his wife. His wife was helping him kill.
Yeah,
that is terrifying.
Yeah, they were kind of a like Starkweather, man-woman murdering team.
That's true love.
Yeah, definitely. But they were like Wolf and Batsy, but they were they basically were on the run. They traveled from like I don't know where they started, but somewhere up north, and then they went all the way down the East Coast, all the way to Florida, and then turned around and came back up, and they got caught in Ohio, I think, or they were heading towards Ohio with perfect timing for me to go see Friday the 13th Part 3, and ask my mom, "What's a serial killer?" And who's this guy Alton Coleman on the news? What does that mean? What are they talking about? Oh, he's just like Jason in Friday the 13th. Scared me to death.
God, that's now. Yeah, you're from Ohio. What is it like a year ago? That was like a joke, like Ohio was scary, or it didn't exist.
That's always been a joke.
What is that joke? I guess I missed the whole.
I don't know what the joke is, but there's some weird stuff here, weird places, very haunted atmosphere. It's a super Halloween-y kind of place. The weather is very atmospheric. Okay. But we also have we have everything from suburbs to country to urban cities with Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, and Dayton all in the same state. Cleveland is a little creepy, or it has some creepy parts. But if you look up stories about haunted Ohio, you'll find a lot of them. Also, there's a long list of weird creative people and murderers from Ohio.
Real creative people and murderers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring your campaign back again because I just refreshed it. It looked like you got a couple of backers since we've been here.
Oh, okay.
And you want to go down your campaign, like explain your tiers or anything?
Yeah, sure.
Because sometimes I find people are as simple as it is. Like I think my campaign from it's self-explanatory, but I got guys at work are like, I don't understand this, and then you forget. Oh yeah, normally people aren't. So let's go down. So wow, yeah, you got a couple of backers. Cool. Good. Yeah, this is awesome. I'll be back. I just don't want to do it live and expose my credit card.
Sure. So there's the cover.
Is this brand new for the book?
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
it's a brand new drawing made just for the book.
Oh, I want to ask you, when you know you're going to color,
yes,
does your art style change?
Maybe a little bit. I might leave a little bit more open areas than I would if I was going to do black and white.
Marcus says my serial killer was David Berkowitz. Yeah, my personal favorite. Yeah, it sounds odd to say, but I remember the Summer of Sam.
Yeah,
I remember that. I lived in New York, and the whole state was terrified. I don't know if it made it out to you in Ohio, but man, my father wouldn't let my sisters out because that was his target, was girls with long straight black hair, and that's what every girl looked like back then.
Right.
And I remember they offered a cash reward for anybody. I remember my neighbors had cars that said, "Son of Sam, we're gonna find you," which is not what you do when you're looking for somebody.
Right.
Heads up, he's coming. It was scary. Like, it really was a scary summer. So yeah, I guess we had our Alton Coleman over there. Okay, so this is I've never seen that before. So these are interior pages.
So that's like 4 of the different pages that are inside. Those are the early ones. I believe that green one is 2003, if I'm not mistaken. Jogging my memory here, but it's all in order, like in the order of the years that they were done, and some of them require a little bit of explanation because of where the piece was used. Like that red and blue one on the lower right there has some text on the bottom, just to kind of explain where it came from, because I know that I think over the past couple of years, Wolf and Batsy's picked up a lot of new readers that maybe weren't there before for this long, slow buildup. And some people may not realize where some of these pieces originated from or where they appeared first. So I thought it was worth giving that information.
When you first, I mean, you've been drawing Wolf and Batsy now for 20, 25 years. Did they evolve? Did their appearance change since, how Spider-Man had the webs and,
Yeah, you can see it. You can see it if you go through the illustrations. You'll get an idea of that, how they evolved. And of course, I've given her different fashions and different stories.
Yeah.
Now these pages here represent some of the color images that were done for Lustmord Nightmares, which was a graphic novel length story I did in 2009, and it has not been reprinted since. So it's a story that I'm planning to release in the ongoing series for all the readers who haven't seen that one before. But these images here were used as covers on the digital comics version of Lustmord Nightmares when it was released on Comixology in the, I don't know, whenever that was, early mid 2000s. So, and Comixology, I'm no longer on there. So these pieces haven't been seen in a long time.
I really do like your coloring. It seems like you pick like one major color and then work around that. Like, would it be fair to say like this top left is green, and then and then the secondary, like the next one is orange, and then blue, and purple. Is that a conscious decision?
Yeah. Sometimes I just look at a piece and I go, it's like, what is this one? And sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong. I've gotten a little ways into some of them and realized something's not right. Maybe I'm making it all purple or whatever, and I get a little ways into it and something just doesn't feel right. And then one of the fun things about coloring digitally on Photoshop is, it has a a slider called hue. So you can select a color and slide it back and forth and watch it go through all the different colors of the rainbow and see how it affects the overall piece. And sometimes I've discovered by accident that, oh, wow, actually, even though I was planning this, it works way better with that theme or that color theory on it. And I'll go with that instead and have it turn out a lot better.
It's funny because with my comic, I shouldn't be comparing myself to you. You got a bunch of comics, but I got one comic and I'm working with a bunch of artists on various other comics. And when I see the art, I could say, okay, this works, this doesn't work. But when coloring comes, man, it's almost like infinite choices paralyzes me. Like,
yeah,
like I don't know, like sometimes, and I can't explain. Oh, this doesn't work. Could you fix it? How? I don't know. I just know, oh, this looks great. What did you know what I mean? Like coloring is a lot harder than you think. At least to me.
It's a different kind of challenge for sure. But I did go to art school and I had a lot of color theory classes and painting classes where they sort of taught us how the color wheel works and what colors complement each other and which ones don't, and also tricks you can use to tie the colors all together. One little trivia thing I was going to point out here, if you look at this group of 4 illustrations here, the top right one is actually an homage cover. to a 1952 comic book from a company called Fiction House called Ghost Number One, which I always loved as one of the great pre-code horror comics covers, with a cute girl being chased by a big green scary monster. So I had a big crazy monster in that story and thought it'd be fun to do that homage to that one with Batsy. And the lower left one there, the blue one, is a little bit inspired by one of the publicity stills from Twins of Evil, which is one of my favorite Hammer movies we were talking about.
Yeah, there's a you recommended for me. It was excellent. Yeah,
there's a great publicity still with the two vampire girls sitting like that on the floor side by side, and then the master vampire, female vampire, is between them. So I just put my characters in between them, but I always like the composition, the arrangement of the figures on that one. So kind of borrowed that idea. So there's a lot of horror movie influences going on in all these.
I've been neglecting the chat because I've been just looking at the art. High Lord Zart wants to know whether they're going to be Kryptons as villains in the book. Well, it's not a comic. This is an art book.
Right. Well, yeah. But if you mean eventually in the comic book series, I definitely love Bigfoot, but I don't have any stories planned about him with Wolf and Batsy. I don't think ghosts are considered cryptids, but I love ghosts.
What a cryptid is like, it could exist, and ghosts. There's the difference between monsters and cryptids. Cryptids,
right? Yeah.
Like, just think, at some point we thought gorillas were not real. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Just imagine trying to tell somebody from medieval Europe about a platypus.
Right.
It might as well have been a monster.
Yeah, cryptids are like, the funny thing is I have done comic book stories about Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster as crazy looking monsters. I don't think any of them one of them was for one of Josh's books.
Right,
Josh Howard.
Got the Bigfoot book. He did like a Bigfoot anthology.
And I've done a color version of that one, which was supposed to get reprinted in another book, but I'm not sure whatever happened with that project. And I did a Loch Ness Monster comic for that same book too, but I haven't heard from that guy in a while, so I'm not sure.
Is this a spin-off? This is an art book, so it's just like a supplemental, would you say?
Yeah. Basically, the concept here is Open Caskets is the name of it. It's a kind of a new series in a way, maybe released a little less regularly, but the idea is I always wanted to have like a secondary series that kind of runs parallel to your comic book series, which has other content that can complement the comic book series. So like this would be like Open Caskets Volume 2 might have behind the scenes sketches and text explaining how I came up with ideas or did the stories or whatever. Another one might be like an encyclopedia of all the characters that have ever appeared in all the stories, so there's all kinds, or I could do a black and white art book, of all the black and white illustrations that have been done. So Open Caskets is sort of like a supplementary series that is related to Wolf and Batsy and supports the Wolf and Batsy series and gives you more information about them or just more artwork about them that might not be available in the regular comics. That's the idea.
Yeah. Color theory is still a theory. Like gravity. Gravity doesn't exist. It's just a theory. I love when people say that. It's just a theory. Twins of Evil is awesome. Yeah, I like what the
Twins of Evil is one of my top 3 favorite Hammer movies. Easy.
Yeah. Color is now just expected but rarely beautiful. 300 without Lynn Varney wouldn't be the same. Yeah, I agree.
True.
She doesn't get enough credit for the color. Our first 2 scary movies was 1972 film Gargoyles and Steve Austin's fight with Bigfoot, the $6 million.
Yes.
That fight was the most awesome thing my 8-year-old. First off,
you are speaking my language.
Oh my God. The costumes in Gargoyle are still some of the best costumes ever.
Yep. That movie, Dr. Creep, my horror host from my childhood, he played that movie over and over and over and over again. And I tried to watch it every time it was on. It was one of my favorite TV monster movies.
That's a big movie in my family. my as much as I'm into superheroes and comic books, my older brother's into horror. So like, and then whatever your older brother does, the little brothers follow suit. So we must have watched Gargoyles over and over again.
And trivia fact, did you know those gargoyle suits were made by a very young Stan Winston, the guy who went on to make the Terminator and the Predator and the full-size dinosaurs for Jurassic Park and the Aliens in Aliens, the second one. And Pumpkinhead. I think he did Pumpkinhead too.
People always ask, like, what IP would you bring back? Gargoyles. That had such a great world building, and it was a made-for-TV movie, right? As far as I know, it wasn't in the theaters.
No, I don't think it was.
But
the problem is Disney did their Gargoyles cartoon in the 90s.
Right.
And now when you say Gargoyles, everybody thinks you're talking about that.
You can't trademark Gargoyles, though. It's like trademarking the word ghost,
Right. But the way they dealt with it in that TV movie was fantastic. It still has power over me. I have it on a crappy, cheap DVD that came out in the early 2000s or something, and I still watch it every once in a while.
I forget where I watched it, but I had to watch it again. And oh my God, it still stands up. Those, what is it, 1972? And those costumes, I'm not joking, guys. Still some of the best costumes I've ever seen. And I went back to watch it specifically. Is this just my childhood playing memories on me? No, it's so good. And as in your other comment, Steve Austin fighting Bigfoot.
Yes.
The next day, that came on TV. The next day, all the boys in the neighborhood were beating up Bigfoot, taking turns. Bionic Man, he was Bigfoot, lifted rocks and sticks. Oh my God. That Bionic Man was a phenomenon. There was a couple of things I remember from my childhood. Evel Knievel. Knievel probably hurt more kids. Did you ride your bike and stunt jump and fall down and break your face?
Yep.
Thank you, Evel Knievel. Bionic Man, and then Star Wars came, and then that was it.
Yep. I also had a pair of snowshoes that were Bigfoot feet.
Oh, wow.
So when the blizzard of 1978 hit and buried Ohio, you bet I was out there tromping around with those things on. I'm still a Bigfoot fanatic. I still love it. I'm still obsessed with Bigfoot to this day. But Bigfoot was huge at that time in the mid to late 70s. And if you think back on the history of it, it was only 1967 when the Patterson-Gimlin film was shot. The most realistic, believable documented footage. It was only 1967. So you're talking barely 10 years later, and Bigfoot was all over the place. There were books about Bigfoot in my elementary school library. I mean, on the $6 Million Man, and then Bigfoot and Wild Boy was one of my favorite shows when I was a little kid.
But I think what really broke Bigfoot was In Search of Bigfoot with Leonard Nimoy.
That too, yes.
I saw that in the movie theaters.
Yes.
There was a scary scene of somebody in the cabin and all the Bigfoots were. I was terrified of Bigfoot.
Yeah. The Legend of Boggy Creek was a great movie from then. Bigfoot was huge when we were kids.
And if I may be Bigfoot's scheduled to make an appearance in Heroic Tales #6. So I just want to throw that out there. Unless ghosts are some sort of science fiction ectoplasm beings, then they are not cryptids. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I agree with that. Yeah, I don't think they count as cryptids.
Lizard Man isn't a cryptid. It's an extra-dimensional being that evolved from dinosaurs. A long-haul truck driver assured me of this. Well,
I thought it was Kurt Connors.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with the long-haul truck driver. They've seen some stuff.
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of great stories from long-haul truck drivers about Bigfoot sightings, and from people who work on trains and are just on the train as it goes back and forth across the country. There's all kinds of great sightings about Bigfoot from guys on trains. Yeah. There's tons of YouTube channels on this, and I just put them on while I'm drawing and listen to them. The supposedly true stories of Bigfoot.
Bigfoot was played by Andre the Giant?
Yeah, that's true, actually.
I didn't know that.
You know what the coolest thing about him in that show was? His eyes, the contact lenses. He had the white eyes. Made him so scary.
Spoiler alert to a 1972 TV show. I was always disappointed that he was a robot. I wanted him to be an actual Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, did you have the toy with the face came off it? Yeah.
No. The toy had the chest plate.
That's okay.
Which everybody lost, but I got a new one though.
Oh my God, Lord Ravener, tell him Large Marge from Pee Wee's Big Adventure. I saw that in the movie theater with my friend Joe Lombardi, and when that happened, I almost had a heart attack. I don't know how old was I, 13, 14, 15 years old. I laughed so hard, I was kicking the chair in front. Like I don't think I've ever laughed harder in my life. Because
funny.
it was simultaneously scary because you didn't know what was happening,
and funny.
And there was that tension relief of humor.
Yeah.
Oh my God! You know, I still laugh when I see that scene, just thinking about how hard I laughed in the movie theater. Have you ever done that? You remembering of something funny? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Did we talk about all these pieces here?
Well, not yet. We got distracted by the comments because I like people feeling part of the show. Look at this, all of these.
Yeah, some of these are from. Some of these were just things I did for fun. Actually, the ones you're kind of scrolling through now, but some of them are. These were Comixology digital edition covers for Magnum Orgus, which was the other big Wolf and Batsy graphic novel that I did in 2017. Or that's when it came out. That's when it came out was 2017. I worked on it from 2010 to 2017 because it was so long.
Lately, I've been asking all the artists who come on my channel, it's fair to say that when it comes to drawing women, that they draw what they find is attractive. Like, would it be fair to say like Batsy is the kind of girl that you would find attractive? Like, not a vampire eating. Well, maybe you do like vampires eating blood. I don't know you that well, but yeah. But you know, like I could see this being your type. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna draw women all day long. You might as well draw one you find sex. And I love it, yeah, because she is a girl. She has different outfits every time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, one thing you talked to me about this a few times. You probably mentioned it live. That Batsy has a strong female following.
Yeah, which I never imagined or expected. That took me by surprise. But it is one thing that has emerged as the comic has sort of become a little more popular over the last few years. I've been surprised by how many orders for the books and backers on my last two campaigns were women, actually. I never imagined that. I mean, I just always assumed, I figured I was making these comics for the fellas, like these monster comics with that are sort of like, the comic book equivalent of exploitation horror movies with bad special effects. That's always just been my mentality. So I just never expected that. I thought most girls would just look at him and go, ugh, like this is like the reading equivalent of like the rubber spiders you throw at your little sister. That's the way I think of Wolf and Batsy. And so I just assumed any woman would look at it and be disgusted. But no, we've grown a surprising female following, fan following, it seems.
I mean, it's only natural that men like to look at beautiful women, but women like to look at beautiful. Like, look at the whole video games when they started like de-beautifying these women.
Yeah,
women were pissed.
Yeah,
men want to be around sexy women, and women want to be sexy women.
Mm-hmm.
All I got to say is when you get fan photos of women cosplaying as Batsy in the bone bikini, I want you to share them with me.
Well, there's also that whole, the goth chick hot topic thing, I guess. And I mean, all of that is inspired by, vampire fashions and stuff from movies and stuff. So it probably ties in somehow.
Gerald is unlocking memories that I forgot about. The movie with Dirk Benedict from Battlestar Galactica about a man who's slowly turning into a king cobra. I saw that movie. I remember watching it. I was at my Aunt Mary's house, and I was down in the basement by myself watching it because it had, maybe it was a rerun because I think when did Battlestar Galactica run? So it must have been a rerun because I watched it because of Dirk Benedict. So
right, yeah. Yeah, Battlestar Galactica came out right after Star Wars because it was kind of a ripoff, but but it was so cool. I loved that show when I was a kid.
Battlestar Galactica became like my show because everybody was like, it's just a cheap ripoff of Star Wars. So I was like, I think
it was, but it's a fun one. It's got so much cool stuff in it.
But it was like the ships, the Battlestar itself was such a cool spaceship. One of my favorites. The Colonial Vipers, the Cylon ship were cool.
Oh, the Cylons and the Ovions were my favorite thing in that show. The Bugmen, the bug creatures. Oh, I love that. I got the complete Blu-ray set of the whole series, and I've been watching them. They're so much fun.
Weren't the Ovions only in the first episode? And they were eating like humans, right?
They were in the TV movie, and they do pop up a couple of times later, I believe.
Yeah.
And the Imperious Leader.
Oh, I just hit a
Love
button.
that guy.
I just panicked for a second. I thought I turned this off. I had a pop up, and I went to click it, and then something popped up. I thought I canceled this. Gordon Good Brothers bringing up Athena. While Athena was good looking, Cassiopeia was good looking. That Jane Seymour in the pilot episode.
Oh yeah,
she is still my favorite. Probably, her and Julie Newmar. Like I always say, John Byrne and George Perez are my two favorite superhero artists.
Yeah,
they rotate like an atom. But it's Jane Seymour and Julie Newmar. Ask me at what particular moment in time. I think Jane Seymour is more the good girl. Julie Newmar is more the bad girl, depending upon if I'm naughty or nice at that particular moment.
Have you seen her in Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger?
Of course I've seen her.
Of course you have.
and then Carolyn Monroe is in the other one.
The Golden Voyage of Sinbad.
Yeah.
But that's a good look for her. But she's in Battlestar Galactica. That's right. Yeah.
She was going to marry Athena. She was going to marry Apollo. Yeah, that was a different movie that I
Dare to Dream.
And I will say, Jane Seymour, even like in her 60s, as Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, was still beautiful. Yeah. Oh man, And you know what's funny? I never found why can't Joan Collins that attractive? Like she was pretty, but everybody went Gaga over because to me she was always like in her late 40s. Not that now that's young, but as a kid, I'm like late 40s might as well be 100 when I was a kid.
Yeah, right.
But I've seen some glamour photos of her before Star Trek. Oh my God, she was a knockout. Now I can see why people go nuts over her. And speaking of knockouts, Ted Lurch Cassidy was from Bigfoot Costume Outfit because Andre became too famous and too expensive to hire.
I think I have heard that. Yeah.
Oh, so when they brought him back?
Yeah, that's right. I knew there was a second actor. I didn't realize it was Lurch though.
To me, one of the scariest things of all time was when Ted Cassidy was in Star Trek as the big tall monster.
Mm-hmm.
You know that episode with the androids, and he's going, "Help me, Spock! Help me!" Ah! But they're dubbing in Leonard Nimoy's voice. He's going, "Help me, Kirk! Help me!" It's supposed to be Spock yelling out for help. That always scared me because the voice just didn't fit that big monster's face. It just terrified me. Seymour goes without saying. I could watch all those Harryhausen. I could never say his name correctly.
Harryhausen, yeah.
Harryhausen. Oh my God. How is it that those movies are still they're better than modern CGI? There was a point when CGI was awesome, like the Pirates of the Caribbean, like the first Pirates. That what Davy Jones was phenomenal. You really believed he existed. The Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings, and now I don't know, like the Marvel movies, they look like cartoons. So.
Well, the recent ones do.
Yeah. The Harryhausen. Tell me you can't watch Jason and the Argonauts today and be astounded.
Yeah, I've shown my little girl the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, and she likes it. They're very, briskly paced. They.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you. 9x12 commission, huh? Awesome.
I
love it when people buy the commissions because then they send me a message describing their idea, what they want it to be, and it's always a fun surprise, always something interesting.
Cool. Thank you, Lord Ravener. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Live and Let Die, Jane Seymour was a Bond.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Say what you want about James Bond. The women in those were always so beautiful. My favorite.
Yeah,
Bond
some of the Hammer horror movie women are in those too. The James Bond movies.
It was the first Casino Royale, which was a Woody Allen movie. Barbara Boucher was Miss Moneypenny. Oh my God, Barbara Boucher is one of the most beautiful women to ever
Oh
exist.
yeah, I know she is. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Oh, good. Thank you, Lord Ravener, Yvonne Craig. Oh my God, yeah. Tell me you didn't get upset when Batgirl wasn't on Adam West Batman. You were like a little kid. Are you watching for Batgirl? No. He came to lecture while I was at film school. Oh, and you skipped out? You didn't watch it? I thought you skipped out to see it.
I got a great Harryhausen story.
Oh, let's hear. Let's hear.
I got to meet him twice in person. There was one time. Is my buddy Torchbearer Studios in the comments here? Because he was with me when it happened.
Oh, if you're here, give a shout out.
He was my college roommate, so we were in on this together. But at one point, we found out Harryhausen was going to be making an appearance at a science fiction convention at the Columbus Convention Center. So this is before 9/11, so security was lax. And we found a way to sneak in there because the ticket prices were crazy. I hope the statute of limitations is passed. But anyway, so we just were kind of milling around, like hoping we would see him. And he comes out the door with a crowd of people around him. And I had this book of it was called the Harryhausen Scrapbook or Harryhausen Film Book or something like that I'd found at like half price books. I'd found it at a used bookstore. And I said, hi, can you sign my book? And he was kind of like, he acted confused. He's like, where did you get this book? I was like, I don't know. I found it at the store. He's like, this book was only released in England. He was like super impressed that I actually had that book. So he signed it for me and I got it signed. But then there was another time where he made an appearance at a science fiction convention. And I think it was a model kit convention too in Pittsburgh. And me and my buddy Dave went down there, and they also as a guest was Bob Burns, who's one of the great monster movie screen used memorabilia prop collector guys. He owns the original King Kong skeleton.
Oh, really?
So they had glass cases with like Harryhausen's puppets, like his skeletons from Seventh Voyage of Sinbad and Jason the Argonauts. Medusa from Clash of the Titans was there. Saw those in person, and the metal skeleton armature from King Kong. And then they showed King Kong on a giant movie screen in an old like 1920s or 30s era movie theater with Harryhausen hosting and Bob Burns hosting and answering questions. It was awesome. That was like one of the best convention experiences I ever had.
That sounds great. Watching the original King Kong, sometimes I wonder if like memory's playing tricks on me, but like there's scenes edited out. Like I remember King Kong fighting like an octopus. Is that
you're thinking of the Elasmosaurus? I believe there's a scene where he gets attacked by the dinosaur with the real long neck, and it kind of wraps around his arm like a tentacle would, but it's not an octopus. But there are different versions of King Kong because it was edited at different times when it was released pre-Code Hollywood and post-Code Hollywood. There were different re-releases where they cut out scenes where he's holding Andaro, Fay Ray, holding her in his hand, and he's, tickling her with his finger and her clothes are falling off. A lot of that stuff was not, nobody cared in pre-Code Hollywood days.
I remember seeing that, but
and stepping on the natives too, like when he's actually putting them in his mouth and eating them, like that got cut out when it was re-released.
I remember there was like a squid or an octopus, or was it a spider maybe, and he picked it up and smashed it. And I also remember people falling into giant crabs.
The spider scene was never released. That's a myth. There's a scene where the sailors are trying to get away. They're running across the log, and King Kong shakes the log and knocks them off, and they fall into this pit. And there was an animated sequence that was done where all these prehistoric spiders and crab monsters come in and just pick the people to pieces. Yes, Kong Skull Island has an octopus fight in it.
Is that the new
and
one?
King Kong versus Godzilla has has Kong fighting an octopus. You might be thinking of that.
That's what I saw. My memory is playing tricks on me.
You might be thinking of that, but the spider scene was done and it was made in 1933, but it was the producers that actually cut it out before it was even released. So that is a lost piece of footage that actually, it's not a myth that it was made. It did exist, but it was never actually theatrically.
They said it was too scary or something? Or?
Back then they thought it was too scary, so they cut it out. So that's a scene that, and so then later on, like in 1937 and 38, like when they would re-release it, and then when they put it out on television, then they would have these cut down versions where they'd take out the parts where Kong was eating the natives or stepping on the natives or picking Fay Ray's clothes off or whatever. And so that started this myth that the spider sequence had been cut out also. But the fact is, it never was released theatrically. It never got past the producers.
And it's lost to time?
Yeah, it's considered lost footage. But there are photos of it. You can find, there are photos of it. I have a great book on the making of King Kong on the shelf right behind me. And Peter Jackson, I see the comment in the stream here, in the chat. Peter Jackson did make that scene when they did his version. Of course, they did his big modern day version in the Peter Jackson movie, but also while they were working on that movie, he said, just for fun, for the DVD, let's make the old black and white version of the spider sequence. And they used stop motion animation and they made it look like the way they imagined it might have looked when it was really done. And it's really cool.
Maybe that's what I saw, and that tricked my memory. Yeah.
Yeah, that might have been it.
Is the Peter Jackson King Kong worth seeing? I've never seen it.
Oh, it's good. It's fun. Yeah. It's a little, okay, like all Peter Jackson movies, it's a little long and self-indulgent. It's a little bit saccharine and over-sentimental in places. But when it's good, it's really good.
Yeah, I just can't stand Jack Black. You know, I don't want to watch a 16-hour movie with Jack Black. Isn't he the main character?
He plays, oh my gosh, he plays the, why is my brain...
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. My excuse is that I got into a car accident. You got no excuse.
Anyway, yeah, he plays the filmmaker, the guy that takes them all to the island, and he's fine in it. I don't know why the name of the character slipped in my mind. I've seen it maybe 8 million times. I didn't
let him jump around like a jackass.
But a more fun movie than even Peter Jackson's King Kong is Kong Skull Island, which someone just mentioned a little bit ago. Larry King mentioned. Skull Island is awesome. You should see that because it is CGI, but they really made an effort to make the CGI figures look like the Willis O'Brien puppets. Okay. In fact, in the original King Kong, there's a scene where it's after the whole thing with the log, where the one guy, Jack Driscoll, he's hiding in the little cave in the side of the cliff, and King Kong's reaching down trying to grab him, and there's this weird little monster that comes crawling up the wall, and Jack Driscoll cuts the vine and makes the thing fall. But it's this weird little monster with like a pointy head and kind of a lizard body, but no hind legs. Well, in Skull Island, they put those monsters, made them big and made them the bad guys that King Kong has to fight, which is such a neat homage because they're using that design from the original movie. But yeah, I recommend Skull Island. That's a really fun modern Kong movie.
I saw a comment, but I can't find it. But if somebody asked you who's your favorite gorilla suit actor, which is funny because
Charles Gamora.
What's that?
Oh, Charles Gamora is the king of the gorilla suit actors.
And Bob Burns was the real Ghostbusters gorilla.
Yeah, that's true. Bob Burns was a gorilla suit actor. He was one of the, or as they're called, the Hollywood Gorilla Men. He was one of the Hollywood Gorilla Men in a TV show called Ghostbusters in the 50s or 60s. Double check me on that, but he played a funny gorilla long before Bill Murray did Ghostbusters.
It's funny because I never knew that there was like a Hollywood subculture about gorilla men or when you made Wolf and Batsy, was it 11? The gorilla suit killer.
Oh, number 7, yeah, number 7.
That was my favorite issue because it taught me so much that I didn't know until your newest issue came out.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, with the mushrooms and the slide. I don't know why. I found that to be like scary. You know, I just really liked it. But that doesn't mean I don't like Gorilla Suit Killer anymore. It just means he gets better and better with every comic.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice. I appreciate it.
So,
No, I love gorilla suits, but I always love them in movies. I think I talked about this on one of my videos recently because somebody asked a question about it on one of my drawing videos recently. But so I'm kind of reiterating a little bit here. But I always just loved gorilla suits in monster movies because gorillas were rarely seen in the 30s, because they weren't even hardly at zoos. Like the average person did not see a real life gorilla very often in the 30s.
Right.
So the movies could get away with having a guy in a gorilla suit and have it not be perfectly accurate. So they don't really look like gorillas. They look like gorilla monsters because they have crazy big teeth and everything. But I always loved that illusion from the time I was a kid. And I think I grew up with this fantasy like, man, someday I would love to have a gorilla suit for Halloween. And so then in 2010, I actually made that a reality. I actually did it. And man, it's fun to be in a gorilla suit. Everybody comes up to you. Everybody wants their picture taken with you. It's so much fun.
And do you find yourself acting like a gorilla? Like you can't help it?
A little bit. Yeah, you can't help it. And I had a great mask that had this hinged elastic thing under the chin so that the mouth would open and close. It had a hinged jaw on it. So, and your own mouth could manipulate it and make it open and close. It was so cool.
How hot was it? You must have been dying.
No, that's the funny thing too. You would never believe it, but because the mouth opened and closed, the air just, and because the snout was out here, so it didn't show your real mouth. You couldn't see it in the dark. There was plenty of air flow coming in the mouth, but also the bodysuit. Now, if you look at I did a video of a lifetime of Halloween photos.
I love that video. Me and my wife watch it.
If you watch that, I got pictures of that Halloween where I had my gorilla suit, and it looks like I weigh 800 pounds because the suit looks so big. But the thing is, the whole suit was just a mesh with loose black fur woven onto it and layered on top of it. So when I'd walk around on Halloween night that time, the cool air would just blow right through it because it was an all mesh.
Okay.
It was the most comfortable air-conditioned costume I ever wore, and it looks like the most cumbersome.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It looks like you should take the mask off and you just be like, water.
Yeah. It looks like it'd be super claustrophobic, but it's actually the most comfortable Halloween costume I've ever had.
Excuse
and
me.
I've done some claustrophobic Halloween costumes.
Do you still have the gorilla suit?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The whole bodysuit, the mask, everything.
When your daughter's old enough to come home with her first date, you should just jump out.
Well, anyway, so all this put together, it made me kind of, I don't know when the idea of a gorilla suit serial killer occurred to me. I don't know when I came up with that, honestly. I just think I loved the old movies with the gorilla suits in them, and I just wanted to draw a guy like that. I just wanted to draw a story about a guy like that. And then I guess the idea of a guy like that having an axe just felt like a natural choice. So he became a gorilla suit maniac.
I'm going to assume that most of the people watching this probably read your comic. I just find it so funny that the one time Wolf and Batsy decide to help somebody, they help the wrong person.
Yeah, naturally. And it's all her fault.
Yeah, and Wolf just goes, "This is not a good idea," or something.
Right. It's always her fault. They never would have got into any of the trouble that they got into in issue 13 if it wasn't for her.
And I think you like this comment that because for those of you who don't know, Blonda gets beheaded. And
she was asking for it. She was hard to draw.
How dare you be? You're gonna die. But I'm like, yeah, she was a gold digger, but like, I was like, oh, poor Blonda. She was still just a human, and you did what you got to do. You got me to feel bad. And then I said to you, oh man, there should be some sort of like retribution. And you just smiled. And next thing you know, that's like a big part of the next couple. And then
although I don't know if retribution really happens.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to be spoiler free. Then you made what I consider the meanest issue of Wolf and Batsy. Well, Wolf just comes up with a plan that makes him in human form more of a monster than he is in wolf form. And it just made me stop and go, oh yeah, these are monsters.
Yeah, that whole thing, um, that's a repeating pattern. He does a trick like that in Less More Nightmares, and he also does a trick like that, a major one in Magnum Argus. If you think what he did to that guy in issue 8 or 9, whichever one that was, I think it was 9. Anyway, if you think that was nasty and calculating, you should read Magnum Argus and see what he does in there. There's a whole chapter devoted to it.
Yeah,
and I had to, when I wrote that story, I had to build a lot of the plot around how to make it actually work, because his plan is pretty, I don't know how to explain it. It's intricate in a way.
Machiavellian.
Yeah.
I got Brian's collected editions. I read the first one. I still haven't read the other. I keep saying I'm going to read it in one sitting on it, and I never have a day to read them. You know what I mean? It's never going to happen. I just got to start reading them but they're really good printing. So I recommend. Where can people get those?
Those are on Indie Planet.
Indie Planet.
Yeah. I am eventually I will reprint them. I want to do new editions of them. I just haven't exactly decided where or how exactly yet. That's still kind of up in the air, but I will do it. I'm just not exactly sure how I will approach it. Oh yeah, Planet of the Apes. I'm a big Planet of the Apes fan too.
I was going to say you must love the Planet of the Apes. Huh?
Heck yeah.
What's your favorite of the movies?
The first one.
Yeah, the first one. I do like the Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
I like those first two. Well, I like the first one best. It's a
great movie.
Yeah, sure. And is it the fourth one, Conquest, with Caesar, with Roddy McDowall as Caesar when he comes back as Caesar? That one is really cool. That one is. I love those movies, and I love the Guerrilla Soldiers. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the first of the remakes. I forget the director, with this big twist that Abraham Lincoln is an ape at the end of the, and I didn't particularly like it. I think Planet of the Apes is another movie that I just loved it. It was like a personal movie. There's a couple of things that I just like hold dear, and I don't want to see remakes of them or anything.
And they were played to death a lot on TV, and when I was a kid. Yeah,
that first Planet of the Apes movie is well acted, well done movie.
I saw that in the theater actually, in a re-release, which was quite an experience for a kid.
And that's another one. What's her name? Nova. Oh my God, there's another one of my early crushes. Jeez. Yeah. Why can't I think of the woman's name?
Linda Harrison.
Yeah. What a beautiful, beautiful va-va-voom woman. Tell me that didn't like every superhero woman is like based on like Julie Newmar, Nova.
She's the reason to watch the second one. Beneath the Planet of the Apes, because she's only in the first two.
Yeah. Those big eyes. Yeah, she's beautiful. Yeah. That those my Barbara Boucher. Jane Seymour, Nova. I like to think my taste in women are thoroughbreds.
Right.
So let's go back and check out your campaign. I almost just shut off the stream. Oh my god. Let's refresh this. 40 backers. Oh yeah. It must have refreshed while I was doing it because yeah, good for you.
We're getting there.
So where were we?
I honestly wasn't sure what to expect with this one because it's not a comic, it's not a story. Although we do have, so issue 12 sold out before I did this campaign. So we got a set. This is something else I'm offering on this along with the art book. If you don't have this issue and you want a story, here you go. This is an anthology issue that has 3 short stories in it about Wolf and Batsy. And issue 12 is sold out. So this is the original standard cover, although this is the second printing, and it has a new back cover illustration right there. That's a brand new piece done in 2025 for the back cover of the second printing of issue 12.
This is very Will Eisner to me.
Oh, yeah, you think so?
Yeah,
Thanks.
look at that goon with the gun pointing right at me. I could see him, fighting the spirit right there. That is so good.
Oh, thank you.
I'm a big Will Eisner fan, so
Me
that's
too.
oh, look at that.
That gives you an idea how it would look. And then this is my favorite.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you're aware, in the 1970s there was a publisher called Erie Publications that did these kind of comics.
Oh, let me make you big. Oh yeah, these painted covers are great.
Yeah. And well, they're great, but they're super gratuitous and crazy. It's just crazy monsters. And of course, they're all trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
But this company is called Erie Publications. And I just absolutely love them because they're just insane. And so I wanted to do something that was a tribute to that style. I mean, look at this. You got Wolfman's ripping Dracula's head off with the girl tied up.
So the monsters are friends over at Erie.
Right. Like every monster is killing someone and they're getting killed by somebody else is the ongoing theme of all these. But I got a huge collection of these things anyway, but they're just insane. So I wanted to do a cover that was a tribute to that. So that's what this there's another one. There's a vampire killing a girl. And
who's that artist?
Oh boy. You asked me too fast. It's slipping my mind. But you got this
Tales of Voodoo.
Yeah. So Dracula's attacking this woman. She's getting attacked by giant spiders. And then you have a red zombie with a wooden stake. He's about to stab Dracula. So basically every cover is monsters killing someone and then another monster trying to kill the monster that's killing someone. So I just love those things because they're like the comic book version of exploitation horror movies. So I wanted to do a cover that was in that same style. So that's what this one is. This is your variant cover B for issue 12.
This is insane.
done up to look like an Erie Pubs style cover, but with all the characters from the stories in issue 12.
Slaughtered by the bloody Wolfman, the vampire is stalking.
Yeah.
In this issue, blood. I love it.
And on the back, you get the same thing without the logos.
Oh, cool. Look at that.
Yeah, I had a ball drawing that.
Oh, look at that. Okay, that's what the comic looks like.
Yeah. And then here you have a special offer for all three together if you want to get them that way, and save $5.
And here you got.
And here we go with the original art. There's the cover of Open Caskets Book 1.
Oh, yeah.
And the back cover art from that one. These are all 11 by 17. Actually, I have them here.
There you go. That's standard like art pages, right? That's what you draw on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. Look at that.
Not sure how well the camera's picking that up.
It looks great.
This one.
Oh, I thought you were done.
I've got them all here.
Look at that. Yeah.
And then I have a couple others. Go ahead.
Okay. So we got.
Okay, now this one is the only non-Wolf and Batsy thing in the bunch.
Oh, okay. I was going to say why does Batsy have a gun? But that's not bad.
Yeah, very recently, my friend Josh Howard did his own campaign for a new Dead at 17 book, his series called Revival, and he had me do one of the guest covers. So I was like, "You cool with me keeping it and selling it on my own?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." So here's my
button because that's what I do. Oh, so this is Hazy and
Nara, yeah.
Nara, yeah.
Josh's characters.
Cool.
So I think this one is already sold, if I'm not mistaken.
That is cool. Yeah.
And then this one I thought might interest people. This was intended to be a variant cover on issue Wolf and Batsy issue 13, with the three main girls from the story all tangled up and scared. And then there's the shadow of the giant rat on the wall behind them. This was going to be one of the variant covers for issue 13, and I ended up changing my mind and not using it. So it's not been printed on those books, but the original art I have. So I thought, why not put that on there? Issue 13 went over pretty well. A lot of people really liked it. So this is one piece. All the other covers for issue 13 sold. So I thought that one, if anybody wants it, there you go. It's available. And this one, this is another one that I did. Another variant cover for issue 13 that I created, but ultimately decided not to use. So this is an homage to Jim Lee's famous cover for X-Men 274. Just because I always love that cover, and
I like your homages because they're not like exact one-on-one. Like they could be their own cover. And like, oh yeah, it is an homage. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, my characters are so different looking too.
Right.
I mean, that guy on the bottom right does not look like Cable. But I always love that cover, and Batsy in the skull bikini was kind of in a way, a kind of a throwback to Rogue in the Savage Land. So I was doing that kind of idea, playing off of that a little bit. But again, I ultimately decided not to use that for the comic. But this image, if you scroll down, you'll see the full color version. It is in the Open Caskets book.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So this is a page. The full color version is a page from the Open Caskets art book. So I don't have that one out. I didn't find that one. It's still tucked away, but I got it here someplace. But that one is also available.
Cool. And you got add-ons. You could get all your back issues. That's smart.
Yeah.
That's good. I recommend these guys. I'm sure everybody watching this knows how good your comics are, but on the odd chance there's people watching that don't know Wolf and Batsy, it's just fun horror. You know, little bit of sexy. Well, a lot of sexy. A lot of blood, gore. You know, it's. I'd say it's just like a loving tribute to like
exploitation horror movies.
Yeah, I was gonna say exploitation, but I didn't know if that was like a good word to say. But like B-movie exploitation horror movies, yeah.
Well, the word exploitation gets used the wrong way sometimes. People think it means something dirty, but really all it means is movies that were made cheap but designed to really please the audience by just throwing all kinds of crazy, lurid subject matter, monsters, violence, blood and gore, girls, whatever, you know. So exploitation horror movies that is
exploitation today has like a different connotation. Yeah, like I said, I love your coloring. It's very like you pick a base color and then you work around that color.
Thanks.
Really cool. Yeah. Look at for those of you who are watching, you can see the cover over here, and then on the side you can see the interior. That's pretty cool how you did that. I wish I had skills with computer.
Thank you.
That is, yeah. This poor vampire girl, the secondary vampire.
Yeah, she was fun. This is the spicy variant cover of issue 10. This one sells very well, as you can imagine. A lot of people like that one. All these cover. I want to point out also, all of these cover illustrations on all the back issues are in the Open Caskets art book without any logos or trade dress. So you just get the art.
Now, what is this standard comic book size? Is this larger?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I wanted to make it so that it would fit right in with your Wolf and Batsy collection in your long box, you know? Like I wanted it to be part of it in a way.
Like a Wolf and Batsy annual. I put my annuals at the back of the series, ladies and gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what you guys do, but it's Wolf and Batsy, then annual. You know, it's not.
Yeah,
this is one of my favorite covers. I just love this blue and orange. It's like a combo you don't see too often, and
I think I've told you before,
Yeah.
but this cover was inspired by the cover of the Disney record, Halloween record, the famous Disney Halloween record from the 70s that I had as a kid, that every kid from the 70s had, the chilling, thrilling sounds of the haunted house. It's one of the most famous Halloween records of all time. And although they did do a sequel record that was actually better, in my opinion, I liked that one better. I had them both, listened to them while I was drawing when I was a kid. But that first one was the famous one with the famous painting on the front cover of the big dark haunted house with the blue blowing grass on the lawn in front of it and the lightning strike coming down and the moon. So I used the same color schemes, and then the border of the depends on which version you got, but the version I had had an orange box around the painting. So that was direct homage to that record, because as a kid I used to just sit and stare at that painting all the time. I was mesmerized by it.
If money was no object, would you live in like a house that had a haunted reputation?
I don't know, but I question if where we're living right now has some activity, because there was an old woman who lived here who died before we moved in. And when we first moved in, there were some weird things that happened. Anyway, a lot of little stories, but anyway, yeah. So
we got this house because old Pete, he fell down the steps and died before the ambulance came. So it's just funny. I always find myself in bizarre situations in my whole life, but apparently Pete was the #1 Elvis fan in New York. And News 12 was the local news. And every year on Elvis's birthday and every year on Elvis's birthday, the local news would come to this house. And people, Burns, and every square inch of the outside of the house was covered in Elvis memorabilia.
Wow.
And inside the house, there's still millions of nails. Everything, every square inch was covered in photographs or whatever of Elvis. So this was the Elvis house. If you find out my address and go to Google Earth, you will see my house with the word Elvis written above the garage.
Really?
Yes. And
that's funny.
So that's one of the reasons why I made my character King Fu as kind of to Pete. And every once in a while, I'll put on an Elvis record and be like, "This is Pete. If you're a ghost, I'm a good I like Elvis." And Elvis got me, like when his granddaughter was showing off the house, she pulls me aside and she goes, "Do you like Elvis?" And I thought it was a bizarre question, so but I answered honestly. I said, "There's two kinds of people in this world: people who love Elvis and effing assholes." And she sold me the house because of that answer.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, and every once in a while, something will happen, and I'll be like, "That's Pete trying to manifest." How cool would it be to have an Elvis ghost living in my house? I'm on your side, Mr. Ghost. Absolutely. Here is a comment that I've been holding on to because this is really an important comment. For a one-man show creator, Brian has a stellar reputation as far as fulfilling and shipping with no hassles. Absolutely.
Well, I try. I'm not as fast as I'd like to be, but I'm working on that. I still feel like I'm kind of new at this. I've only done 2 of these crazy campaigns, but that was like the one thing I was like, I got to get better at the fulfillment because I was a little slow, I thought, but I've been working on some plans to speed up that process and hopefully improve that. I just felt like that was the one rough edge I still had to smooth out. You know what I mean?
You can't plan for it. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
I've only done one campaign, and I gotta say it was more fun than I thought it was going to be. I was dreading it. I got my comics. I tried to make at least the least complicated campaign possible because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I got no complaints that anything was beat up or broken. I mailed pint glasses across the country, and the only one who broke was my friend Brian. He got one in Portland, Oregon, and he was like, "I got my glass," and he was going to go fill it up, and his wife goes, "We have to wash it first," and he was like, "We don't have to wash it," and she took it from him, turned around, and dropped it. So Brian, that's not on my fault. That your wife's got to buy you another pint glass. He said he's going to buy another one with this campaign. But I thought it to be like fun in a satisfying way. Like, it was neat to get these stacks of boxes. And then I found out that the post office will come to my house and pick everything up. So that was like one less. But I liked going to the post office and hearing the scan. You know, like, that one's off to Brian's house. That's what's off to you know what I mean? And then I could track it on my computer and just like, oh, that got delivered. That got delivered, you know.
Well, I appreciate the compliments there, Lord Ravener. That's really nice to hear. I do appreciate it.
And I got these right here. The little spider that you.
Oh, right.
It's funny because I opened up my box and a spider. I was like, what? Oh, figures Brian would put a little plastic spider, a little plastic spider.
I got a couple of comments from people that said it actually did scare them, like it made them jump because they didn't see it, but when they took the comic out of the bag, they felt something when they on the back.
Yeah, well,
and then they turned it over and then they saw it and it made them jump.
Well, I opened it up and it fell on my lap, and I'm like,
perfect. Perfect.
Here's your violent cover.
Oh yeah, the violent variant cover. You might say this one is also inspired by eerie pubs because we have monsters killing monsters with lots of blood and gore. This is one of my favorite covers I've done, I think. Even the blood's even on the logo.
Yeah.
What a mess.
This one I love. It's just simple, direct.
You know what's funny? This was originally going to be the main cover for Wolf and Batsy 13. I was going to make this the main cover because I liked how it turned out. And I thought, man, that might be worthy of being cover A, you know? But to my surprise, I didn't get as many orders for this one as I did for the other one. And the other one became cover A, and this one became cover B. But I still like this one. And so this is, so I mean, you know.
I know. I just like, they just look, I don't know, like I'm just picturing myself going through the tunnel and then, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, I still like this cover, but the other one seemed to be better with the big 13 made out of bones on the front.
Oh, so you have a sketch cover? So you have a blank comic and you'll draw something on it?
This is for this is issue 7 with the Gorilla Suit Maniac story. I still have leftovers of those. That one was done as a sketch cover, and I still have quite a few left. So I'm doing sketch covers on those.
Oh, cool.
I'm sure there's people out there who probably have 5 copies of issue 7 because they keep ordering sketch covers on the same book. But I haven't quite got to the point where I'm ready to do a sketch cover on another issue yet. But I need to do that eventually, probably with my next campaign when I have another story to release.
When you do a sketch cover, do you need, like, is it just white paper, or do you have to get a different paper so that you could draw?
Well, the cover is just a blank cover with the logos and the trade dress, and it is a different cover. It is a different paper stock that is a little bit more like drawing paper. So it takes, you know, as they say, the tooth of the paper takes the ink, and it absorbs it, but it doesn't. I was amazed by the quality of it, actually, because I just thought if I draw on this with a brush, it's going to feather. You know, it doesn't. I don't have any of those issues. It's really good.
Maybe for a future campaign, I'll offer a sketch cover of one of my comics. I'll get back to you about what paper to use for the cover, because, you know. Yeah,
that's the trick. You got to make sure you got the right cover stock.
Yeah.
I think our friend Frankie B. Washington has done those and has that figured out. So I might ask him.
Yeah, Frankie does a wonderful comic called Kaijus and Cowboys.
Yes.
And I have a Kaiju story coming up sooner or later in Heroic Tales. And I already offered Frankie, and he already accepted to do a variant cover. And he was like, okay. He started I was like, I'm not ready yet. We're not there yet. But it's nice to know. And Frankie just got out of the hospital. He's doing well. He got hip surgery. I love all of these.
These are 9x12 commissions. These are just examples of commissions I've done in the past. I've been doing original art commissions since 2004. so, which is also why I believe I haven't had many problems with shipping comics, because I had to learn how to ship original art without it getting damaged.
Yeah.
So once you figure that out, comics are a breeze. But one of the sizes I offer is 9x12, which is a nice little size. It's not too big, not too small, and I can do that at a small size for a reasonable price. So I'm offering that on the campaign, and these are examples of commissions I've done before. That one on the bottom left of Cynthia from The Witching Hour, that was a commission that was requested on the last campaign I did for Wolf and Batsy 13. It was one of my favorite ones that I did on that campaign, and so I used it here.
I love that Wolfman.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite drawings of Wolfman I've done. He's my favorite monster. So
and here's the oh no, this is rubber bats, right? Or
yeah, those aren't for sale. Those are my babies. Yeah. those are rubber bats and rubber spiders that I've literally had since I was a little kid. Bought at the local Halloween store here.
What's funny is I remember as a kid, it was kindergarten, and I bought this big red rubber spider. What boy hasn't bought a big rubber tarantula spider?
Of course.
And then I got scared of it. So I was scared of it. And I remember I brought it to kindergarten, and I was scaring girls. What else are you going to do with a big rubber spider? That's what it says on the package, to scare girls with.
Naturally.
Yeah, and I remember the teacher took it away from me, which I didn't realize was going to happen. And it disappeared. Like, I guess another kid stole it from the teacher or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like a month went by, and all of a sudden, people just started screaming. We were outside playing, and you go down the slide, and it's sand, like you'd slide into like a sandbox.
Yeah.
Somebody took my spider and buried it there, and kids were screaming. Thank God other people remembered it was Martin, and I got my spider back. But it's worth watching everybody run screaming for my rubber spider made the whole thing worthwhile.
Awesome. Well, that's the sticker and the postcard that I did on the last campaign.
Yep. Mine's on my fridge. I'm looking at my fridge of all my stickers. And
then here's the trading card set that I did on the first campaign.
Yeah.
I eventually I need to add some more characters to these, add more cards to this this little collection here, because people do seem to like them.
Yeah, they're good. They're good cards. I love the borders. Like that old Edgar Allan Poe, Cascardo brick wall. I love and I mean, even though they're monsters, they're surprisingly colorful. The stereotype is they should be dark and gloomy, but they're really good. I love these. And here's the backs, their stories.
Yes, I throw in all these little merch things as add-ons.
We see this at the beginning. There's Brian and his Empire Strikes Back. You said before, Return of the Jedi is your favorite Star Wars movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for that one. I mean, I was old enough. I saw the first one in the theater when it came out.
Me too.
I was there for the whole thing. But
we got a Bancroft raid. How you doing?
What does that mean?
Michael Bancroft stopped screaming, and he always picks somebody. He's like, "Oh, John's Longbox is streaming. Go over there."
Oh, really? So
yeah, now I'm watching the numbers go up. We just got 20 more viewers.
Oh, wow, cool. Well, hello, everybody.
Everybody, we got Brian Bow over here, and we're talking about his new campaign. Since we got a whole bunch of new people, go to Kickstarter and back Open Caskets. It's the Wolf and Batsy art book. That's what we're talking about. It's a launch party from all the Bancrofters.
It is indeed.
The Bogans. I'll never forget one day I was, streaming, and all of a sudden everybody was saying Bogan raid, and I got terrified. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know if oh, okay, because apparently Bogan is like an Australian word for just like a regular guy, like a cool regular blue collar guy. So I didn't know what was going on. I was like, oh, am I being attacked? And Doc Blaylock has a great comic. I might as well give him a shout out. Doc Blaylock. Where am I? There you go. A damn dirty thing.
Nice.
Yeah, a supernatural detective story. There you go. Check that out. Yep. We got Michael Bancroft. How you
Oh,
doing,
there
Mike?
he is. Hello, sir.
How you doing?
I believe I appeared on his show once a time back.
Yeah, Mike's a great guy. And speaking of monsters, I think Australia is inhabited by monsters. Almost everything there will kill you, or try to kill you, or wants to kill you but can't. Yeah, John thought it's were you there, Gordon? Were you there when I had my first Bogan raid? And I was like, "What's going on?" You probably saw all the color flush out of my. I thought something bad was happening. Yeah, Doc. Yeah, I got to say, Doc, my wife has the things for voices, and she was sitting over here when you were on, and she was like, "That guy has a great voice. You should do good voice narration." Yeah, it is a fun. Yeah,
Oh, thank you. Well, as I was explaining at the beginning, this one is not a comic. This is an art book that's meant to supplement the comic book series, because I created the characters a long time ago, and over the years I've done a lot of different illustrations, full color illustrations that were used for covers or for digital editions or different versions that have come and gone. And so I thought, why not make an art book that has all of them in there in the same book?
So Michael says they found a new 4-inch killer spider. They call it the big boy. Well, let's hope that it's trapped on that island continent that you live on.
I'll be looking that up.
An ocean that keeps us out. But it's a new species, or it's just like a mutant version of a spider that already exists. Because if it's a new species, leave, back up, go. Yeah, if they found a new 4-inch spider here, I'd just freaking move. Absolutely. I lived in Albuquerque for 7 years, and I told everybody, "How long are you going to live there?" Until I see a scorpion. I can deal with spiders, but scorpions freak me out. Yeah, I don't know. I know you like monsters. How are you with insects?
They don't bother me too much. I like spiders. I don't kill spiders when I find them in the house. I take them outside. I don't like roaches though. I don't.
No, roaches are gross. Absolutely, roaches must be destroyed.
Yeah, flies don't scare me, but they're just annoying, so I must kill them.
Roaches and mosquitoes must be destroyed.
Yeah.
But all other insects, I'm surprisingly, except for scorpions aren't insects, but you know what I mean. But spiders, I keep telling my wife, don't kill the spiders. Like, escort them outside.
Right. You know what? Okay, so the kind of bug that I hate more than any other in the universe is the big. I don't know if you guys have them up there, but here in the Midwest, we have these big, round furball bumblebees that fly really lazy and really slow, but they have these giant stingers. And I got scared of them from the time I was a kid because my dad had there was a back corner of the yard where when he'd clean up after the dog, that's where he'd shovel where it would be out of the way, out of the yard. They lay their eggs in poop like flies do, So those things would be kind of over in that corner of our backyard. They scared me to death. And then when I was in high school, I had a job as a lab tech in a vet clinic, and I'd have to go outside and clean the outside runs for the dogs. And we'd get those stupid fat bumblebee bugs flying around. And I would take the hose, the big high-powered hose that we clean the runs with, and I'd blast them out of the air. Just shoot them because they're my mortal enemies. I hate those things in the worst way.
I love ants. I'm kind of fascinated with ants. And yes,
ants are fine.
Sooner or later, there'll be an ant-based superhero in Heroic Tales. My wife is sending me messages. She's saying she hates ticks.
Ticks are bad.
Ticks need to be added to the list of insects to be eradicated. And Lord Ravener, you live in Albuquerque? I get jealous because as much as New York has great food, and today I discovered I love Smash Burger tacos by the place around the block, Albuquerque has the Frontier Diner and the Frontier Green Chili Cheeseburger, or the Frontier Burrito, is the greatest thing in the world. Forget about all the beautiful wonders of Albuquerque, the volcano, the desert. Go to the Frontier Diner, get a cinnamon roll. Oh my God. I want to take my wife to Albuquerque. She's never been there. Just we're going to go on an eating tour. Yeah, so little jealous. Go get a bag of fresh tortillas from the Frontier Diner. Oh man, that's good eating. Put a carpenter ant on it. There you go. So, anything else you want to talk about? We've been talking now for an hour and 48 minutes. How about we'll go 2 hours? We'll go another 12 minutes.
Yeah, sure. Well, do you want to pull up the campaign and see where it's at?
Sure. Let's see. Where are we? 44. We got another 4. Oh, Kickstarter, you don't have to refresh. That's good because I almost shut off the stream again. Every time I go to refresh, you got to make sure you're on the correct window. Oh, cool.
No, we're getting there. There.
Do you remember what you did when we started? Like, did we do $1,000 while we were talking?
Yeah, we did. I think we did.
I'm taking credit.
I think it had just cleared 1,000 when we started. So we may have done 1,500.
Oh, good.
Yeah, while we were on here. So that's
and
nice.
What's you call?
3,500.
Oh, good. Yeah, come on, guys. Let's get him over his goal in 12 minutes. Everybody, back more times.
There ought to be something fun on there for you.
Yeah, I could back on my phone. I just realized I didn't want to back because I don't need people seeing my credit card information. But I can back on my phone. Nobody can see that. The long box sleep. Yeah, let's coin this.
Awesome.
Yeah. Wolf and Batsy. Oh, it's funny. It came up. It must know me. You know, it must know what I like. Get out of the phone spying on me. It's probably spying on me. So.
Well, we've talked about everything on this stream so far. We talked about monster movies. We talked about serial killers. We talked about Bigfoot. Yeah. We talked about Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, we talked about burritos. Oh, so we talked. Then we noticed that there was a long box leap. Return of the Jedi. Why is that your favorite of the 3 Star Wars movies?
Well, okay. Let me just. I always try to clarify this.
And there's only 3 Star Wars movies, everybody. Just to clarify.
No. I don't even get into that. Let's just keep it simple right now. I always make a point of saying this. Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi is the classic example of the best is not always necessarily your favorite. Your favorite and the best are not always necessarily the same thing.
I'll buy that. That's a good point. That's a good distinction. Yeah.
I absolutely feel, as a lifelong first-generation Star Wars fan who's been with it from the start, I absolutely believe that Empire Strikes Back is the highest quality, best-made piece of work Star Wars movie on every level, in every category, from the writing to the directing to the acting to the lighting to the special effects to John Williams' music to the dialogue, everything. It's the best. That said, Return of the Jedi hits over and over again things that just connects with my interests. That entire first half in Jabba's palace and the sail barge battle, it's like it's wall-to-wall monsters. You know, I can sit and stare at those scenes over and over again forever and never get bored of them. The Rancor monster, obviously Princess Leia in her slave girl outfit. I mean, and then the action scene, Boba Fett in action, seeing him in action, seeing did I say the Rancor monster already? The Gamorrean guards I absolutely love to death. And Jabba's like one of my favorite movie monsters himself of all time. So I can just watch that the first half of Return of the Jedi forever. Then you have the slow middle section. No, I'm not a fan of the Ewoks, but seeing the movie in the theater over and over again as a kid, my little cousin Bradley, who was like, I don't know, I don't even know how young he was. He was a really little kid at the time.
Who was scared of werewolf posters?
He was, well, every time I always went and saw Star Wars with my cousins, and they'd go with me. So he would always have to sit next to me, and my job was to cover his eyes when the Rancor came on. He was scared. He was scared of the Rancor, but he loved the Ewoks. So everybody makes fun of the Ewoks. Do I love the Ewoks personally? No, I was too old for the Ewoks when they came out, but my little cousin Bradley loved them. So it kind of made me feel like there's something in Star Wars for everybody. And also, it's not like it's wrong that they should exist. I mean, we have cute little bunny rabbits in our world too. At the same time, we have alligators and great white sharks. So it's not wrong that they exist. I just don't care for them that much. But in the middle section of that movie, you get the speeder bike chase, which is amazing.
That is really good.
You get some great stuff with Admiral Akbar and the Rebel fleet, and the Yoda scene where he dies, and the Emperor is so cool. So you got that slow middle section you kind of got to get through. But then you get into the ending when that final 3-part battle starts, where you have a ground battle on Endor. You have the lightsaber duel on the Death Star with Luke and Darth Vader. And then to top it off, you have, as he said in the comment there, the space battle in Return of the Jedi is the greatest space battle in any movie of all time in history, in my opinion. It is absolutely chaotic and insane and feels dangerous, and crazy random stuff happens. And the music accompaniment is so great. And that's my favorite space battle in a movie ever. And, you know, and then you top it off with the emotional stuff with Darth Vader's death. So for me, Return of the Jedi is just the most fun to watch, while I acknowledge it has some flaws. You know what I'm saying? It's not a perfect movie. I don't care. I'm very, very forgiving of a movie when I love it. To me, like one thing I get really frustrated with, especially on people on Twitter and YouTube, the way they talk about movies, everybody's such a critic and so impatient and so unforgiving. Like, people act like one bad thing in a movie is like a fly in their soup. Like, it ruins the whole thing. I've never had that attitude. If a movie's heart was in the right place and I was having fun watching it, I've always been able to forgive its sins.
And with a lot of comics, people, I think the internet, like, and Yelp, like, oh, now I'm a reviewer, I'm a what?
Yeah.
Like, we forget how many mistakes and errors and problems there were in Marvel and DC as kids, and we recognized them and then moved on. It didn't ruin anything. You know, we need to chill a little bit. I agree.
I mean, most of my Blu-ray collection is movies that most people would consider terrible, badly made movies. But you watch them and it's like, okay, but the people who made it obviously loved what they were doing and were trying as hard as they could.
Right.
And if a movie like that connects with my interests, it's like a love that'll never die.
I like the movie Ice Pirates. It's a great movie.
Okay.
I watched that movie. I'm like, these people who worked on this movie cared. Like, they took what little budget they had and they did their best. Like I could just see, like, they're at a party 20 years later and be like, I was watching Ice Pirates. I worked on that movie. Like, yeah, I'm proud of what I did. Those suits on those robots I made those. You know? Yeah. I don't know if you ever seen Ice Pirates.
Not in years, but I have. Yeah.
It's flawed, but it's great. But I get what you mean. Like, this another movie, maybe it wasn't flawed at the time, but now I could see the flaws in it. But Excalibur, the Borman film, oh my! Like, you could see I got the Excalibur sword behind. I love that movie, and it's kind of slow in the middle. Like I don't know anybody who, except when I saw it in the theaters as a kid, watches it in one sitting. You know, you always like take a little nap in the middle. You know, but I love. I'm with you. Yeah, I'm forgiving of a movie.
You know, I absolutely agree with you, Gordon Goodbrother. It does not require this much defense, but on the internet, it sure feels like it does sometimes. You know what I mean?
I never hated the Ewoks. I was a little disappointed when I found out originally they were supposed to be Wookiees, and then they changed it. But until I knew that, I was like, Ewoks are just another space alien.
Yeah, right.
And it's a movie.
They're just not cool looking to me because they're not monsters, you know. So I mean, I get it, but I mean, I understand why some people don't like it, but here's the weird thing too. Growing up with Star Wars, I can tell you that, and you know this too, I'm sure, which is when those movies came out, it was like people loved each one more than the one before it. Like, the way I remember it as a kid was it was unanimous growing up with Star Wars that the original trilogy, where it's like, you know, everybody thought Empire was better than the first one. Everybody thought Return of the Jedi was better than the first two put together because it was just bigger and had more stuff. That was like unanimous among the kids I grew up with, even into teenage years. And it wasn't until the internet that it suddenly became fashionable to bash on Star Wars, I guess because it was popular. But I'm cynical about that. But But anyway, yeah. So, but the first half of Return of the Jedi is like, I could watch that over and over and over and never get bored.
Zachton has a good point. Ewoks are monsters like gremlins. They were totally going to eat the main cast.
Yes, this is true.
Without C-3PO, they would have been eaten.
This is true. This is true.
Right?
But while I agree with that, doesn't it make you wish they looked like the gremlins? That would make it better.
Their eyes are obviously goggles.
Right.
I don't know if they fixed it up in later editions, but when I saw it in the movies, you could obviously see that it was like a midget wearing a goggles.
Yeah, anyway, I'm not gonna. No, I love Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi has one of the best payoffs ever. Like I will say, we sat there arguing, yelling at the screen, like, Luke, shut up, you're an idiot, because we watched Luke stumble through 2 movies. You know, even in Empire Strikes Back, Han Solo had to save Luke. You know what I mean? Luke was like stumbling, and then he's threatening Jabba.
Mm-hmm.
Like, shut up, Luke. You're a
I like that part. I like that.
And then it starts doing. I mean, we were cheering and yelling. Yeah. It was such a good payoff.
Yeah.
What was it, like 7 or 8 years of watching Luke evolve into finally now he's an ass kicker. You know. It was rewarding.
You know, a movie that I compare a lot to Return of not in terms of subject matter, but in terms of the journey of watching it, a movie that's very similar to that and totally different genre, but I have the same issue with Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Francis Ford Coppola movie. It's the same viewing experience for me because it's in 3 parts. And the first part is very faithful to the book, and it's one of the best parts. And then there's this middle section where they go into this completely made-up Hollywood baloney reincarnation romance thing that is nothing in the book at all. But it's become popular in Hollywood versions, and you got to sit through that, like, oh brother, this is so not the book. The characters are so not in character. But you kind of put up with it because it was so good to start with. And then it gets into the third section, and it gets awesome again when they have the big chase at the end where they're chasing Dracula back to his castle, and that's all great. And so I watched that movie again. I've watched that one a million times. It's one of my favorites. But I watched it last weekend.
I saw that in the movie theater, and
me too.
I totally agree with you. I love that movie, but I recognize that there were like there's one scene where Keanu Reeves, they put like powder in his hair to make his hair look great, and then like he didn't have it, and then he had it again. Like I noticed that. Yeah. And then there was a scene where you see the train on the mountains, and it just obviously looked like a toy model. But
what's so cool about that movie is that I don't know if you've heard this, but Francis Ford Coppola made the decision. He said, because this was in 1992, so you're in the beginning era of the CGI stuff, and he made the decision against the studio. They wanted CGI, and he said, not only are we not going to do CGI, we're going to do practical effects that were of the techniques that were only done in the silent era or in the 30s at the latest. But because a lot of all those effects techniques in Bram Stoker's Dracula are all done, not just practical effects, but old-fashioned practical effects, which is so cool. It's all camera tricks.
Yeah, I remember because the group of people that we saw it with. Now, first off, I had the funniest comment I've ever heard from a woman who sat behind me when they take the host and they put it on Lucy Westerner's head and it burns. The woman behind me goes, "That host must have been hot." That's funny. That. But I remember we all went to a diner and we were all talking, and my friend Brett just hated it.
I remember when it came out, I knew some people who really hated it. Yeah.
And I just said, Brett, what we just watched was basically an opera on screen.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, I'll buy that. You know, like I recognize the flaws, but like, the costumes and everything, like this was like an opera.
It's such a visual feast, and it's so brazen and bold, way more than movies like that were at the time.
Yeah, I really like. I love the opening scene with when they're talking about Vlad the Impaler. Like it was. I really now I want to see it again.
I love that movie, but what I was saying is, it's funny that I was watching it again last week, and it's the first time I'd watched it in a while. And I love it. It's such a, like I said, a visual feast. But but it made me realize, that's when I realized, I was like, this is kind of like watching Return of the Jedi. The first third is great. The last third is great. And then there's this middle section you just kind of have to get through. But I love it. I just love it. Have I seen Nosferatu 2024? No, I have not. Not yet. I'm not a fan of that guy who made it. He made a movie called The Witch, which everybody raved about, and I just could not stand it. I just hated it.
Oh, really? I like The Witch. Yeah.
I mean, it looks good. The visuals are great. He has a great design sense, and I love the idea of making movies that take place way back then. That's really cool and everything. I just don't like his delivery, I guess. But I love Nosferatu, the classic one from 22. So I wanted to see it, and then somebody spoiled the design, and I just thought he looked stupid. Yeah, Eggers. I just thought the modern design for him looked really bad. I didn't like it. It just looked all wrong to me. So I just was like, eh.
He's the same guy that made that movie, The Northman.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not a big fan of his, so I'm not real familiar with his other movies.
I like The Witch. I don't know if I'd sit through it again because it is kind of dull. But
it grated on my nerves.
He didn't do The Lighthouse, did he? With Willem Dafoe? Is that a different one?
I'm not sure.
But
I'm not sure. After I saw The Witch, I kind of avoided him.
Did you see Demeter? Voyage of the Demeter?
Yes.
Was that good?
I liked it. Yeah, I've heard some people criticize it, but I really did like it. Yeah.
First off, I like vampire movies, and that to me, because it's for anybody who's read I know Brian is probably the expert on the novel. I've read the novel twice, so I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but I read it twice. But he does take the Demeter from Romania. He goes around through the Mediterranean up to England, but they kind of just glossed it over in the book, and the Demeter shows up with everybody dead. So there is room for a story, and I like that this movie is supposed to be what happened on the Demeter. And a horror movie set on first off, being on a sail ship in those days is scary to begin with, without the supernatural, and then you throw Dracula in there. It might be too scary for me.
And they made him look cool in the Voyage of the Demeter. They made him look like Nosferatu,
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know.
I saw The Lighthouse. I liked The Lighthouse. I liked The Witch. But I didn't see The Northman, and I didn't see Nosferatu.
It's a weird thing because growing up, I was always reading all those books on like the supposedly true stories of werewolves from the early 1700s and all this kind of stuff, and vampires, the old world stories about them. I love that, and I always would think, I wish somebody would make a movie that felt like those stories, that felt like it was made in those old times. And this guy's doing it, but when I saw The Witch, I just could not stand the delivery of it. Just the actors, I found them all irritating. The performances I found irritating, and I don't know. It just wasn't fun. And I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm getting old or something, but I'm at a point now where it's like, I want even my horror movies to be fun to watch. I want even if they're dark and scary and everything. But there was just a pessimism about The Witch that just turned me off.
It was doom and gloom. It absolutely.
Yeah.
It was like, as weird as this sounds, it was like the closest Lovecraft movie. If you actually read Lovecraft, you hardly see the monsters.
I didn't get that from it.
Oh, I just thought it was like existential horror. Like it was Satan isolating this family. To me, that might as well have been Nyarlathotep doing the same exact stuff.
I didn't get that vibe. I think the actors just annoyed me and the performances annoyed me or something. It just irritated me. And which is too bad because I did like the way it looked. I mean, visually it was very impressive. Yeah. Here's the thing though. I'm not looking for happy endings either. I love a good tearjerker horror movie. I mean, I think Cronenberg's remake of The Fly is one of the greatest of the 80s. I mean, and that movie is a total tragedy. I love that, but I don't know. There was something about The Witch that were just all the way through. It was just so pessimistic or something. It just wasn't fun. It wasn't entertaining to me.
One of the best like sour endings is the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the remake.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a horrible ending, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you don't need a happy ending in a movie. Yeah.
Oh no, I don't. It's not. That's not the point. That's not what I mean. I'm not looking for a happy horror movie.
No.
I
I'm just responding to Lord Raven. I'm backing you up. I'm with you on this one. You know, matter of fact, like sometimes I think some movies would have been better off with like a, you know,
Mhm.
that's another thing I used to do in college. It was like, let's add one more day onto this movie, and like
Right.
turn that. Like I think like the Wizard of Oz, and you were there, and you were there, and you were there, and everybody's all happy. And then the next day, that woman shows up with the police to kill Toto. It doesn't change anything that the whatever her name is going to show up and
Right.
kill that dog. All right. Well, I've been up since 3:30 this morning, and
Oh man.
I can't stay up any later. So
Okay.
So
All right.
I'm real glad your campaign's off to a great start. Jeez, look
Yeah,
at it.
it's doing really good. Thanks to everybody or anybody in the chat who supported it. That's just awesome. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. This is great. Love your art. I love Wolf and Batsy.
Oh, thanks.
You know, one of my favorite people that I've met through this channel. So I'm of course I'm rooting on. Yeah. Anything you want to say?
No, I guess not.
You're supposed to say back my book, but
Oh yeah. Back Open Caskets. If you like Wolf and Batsy, this book supports it. It gives you a whole lot of color artwork. Did we even talk about how many pages it is?
Oh no. My question is: there going to be a black and white version of this?
A black and white version of my full color art book?
Yeah, I'm goofing.
No. But this is Open Caskets Book 1. It's a new series that supports the main series, and eventually, I could do an Open Caskets Book 2 that is all the black and white illustrations, not the comic pages, but illustrations. But yeah, it's 56 pages, and it's full color art on every page of these characters. And if you're not familiar with Wolf and Batsy as a series, then all the issues are available on this campaign as add-ons. So you can go back and pick and choose the ones you want, or just get a few of the first ones and try it out, or whatever you like.
Yeah, it's so good. It really is a great fun series. And I don't know, maybe I can't think of any other comic that's like it that's coming out anymore. It definitely has like an old 70s vibe in the best sense of the word.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
But can anybody, we got like 85 people watch, right? Can anybody think of any other comic?
We do? I didn't realize we had so many people watching. I appreciate it.
Yeah, if you as the guest, you don't get to see how many people. That's why when I'm on other people's channels, I'll open up the YouTube on my phone. Just I'm curious. Am I talking to like 3 people? Am I talking? Because then I get nervous if it's like 100 people.
Right.
Yeah, I can't think of any other comic to compare it to. Like
there's some old comics you could probably compare it to, maybe
like Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night, or even like Tales from the Crypt, or some of those old pre-code horror comics. That's the sensibility, or even like you said, 70s creepy and eerie. That style of. The only difference is most of those were anthologies, short stories, whereas this is the continuing adventures of a ferocious werewolf and a cute female vampire wandering the earth in search of a place to call home, but everywhere they go, they eat people and get run out of town.
Do you have an ending in mind for Wolf and Batsy? Like someday when you put it to bed?
Yeah, but they're too fun to quit.
Yeah, I don't. Like, I just wonder, like, do they find, like, is it a happy ending? Do they find home, or are they like, beheaded and burnt? Don't answer that. I don't want to know.
I definitely have an idea about how it ends. It's just I don't want to end it. I'm having too much fun.
Yeah, why end it? It's going good. Well, you could do what Marvel and DC did. Wolf and Batsy, the end. Like make like a
right.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, so it's it's continuing stories, but it has that sensibility of the old-fashioned horror comics. That's what I'm going for. or old-fashioned exploitation horror movies. You know.
I'm watching the backer numbers go up. This is cool. Like every couple of minutes.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah. Thanks everybody. But
Yeah,
I
thanks.
wish I could talk. The spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. So this was a rough week for me. Not that I'm complaining. It's good to have overtime, but you know,
yeah.
it takes its toll. So thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Back this. I mean, it's just glorious art. It's so good. So much fun.
Oh,
right.
Thank you, John. All right, have a good one, everybody. Thanks a lot. Thanks for stopping by.
Yep. And also, Heroic Tales 2 is still available on Fund My Comic. This issue is coming out. It's already paid for. It's already, we're about. Renzo just sent me the page 15. There's only 6 more pages for him to draw, and then we could just color it and letter it, start shipping it out. But what we're doing now is raising money for issue 3, or actually the next issue is going to be Patriarch number 1, the origin of the Patriarch. If those of you who are fans of Brian Bow, I have a superhero comic that's it's supposed to be a return to Bronze Age Marvel Comics. To me, the best age of Marvel. So check it out. I think you won't be disappointed. Heroic Tales 1, you can still get Heroic Tales 1 is still available, and you can get a package. I can't even talk anymore. I'm getting so sleepy. So I'm gonna stop now. Thanks a lot, everybody.
We want everybody to go off and watch monster movies for the rest of the night.
Yeah, that's
good night.
Watch monster movies. Watch the Twins of Evil. You will not be disappointed. There you go. What's it? The Krigstein trilogy is
the Karnstein trilogy, and the inspiration for Batsy's see-through nightgown.
You know that movie that you recommended, Spider Baby?
Yes.
That movie scared the crap out of me. Yeah. There's something about spoiler alert for an obscure horror movie but it's this family. They're not monsters. They're just suffering from like a degenerative disease.
They're inbreds, and it's turned them into mutants, basically.
The older they get, it's like they're children. They turn into like adults, and then they devolve.
Yeah.
I find that terrifying.
Yeah, that's a fun movie.
I've always been like, to me, The Notebook is a horror movie. I'm never watching that movie.
There's a whole story. There's a whole Wolf and Batsy Spider Baby connection, but it's kind of a long story. Maybe we can tell it next time.
But thanks a lot. I could keep talking. Here's the link. Right. Thank you, Marcus. I was stalling for time. And
thanks for having me, John.
Yeah, thanks a lot. This is a lot of fun. I'll see you guys Sunday for Sunday Comics, where we're going to do part 2 to Giant Sized X-Men. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
See ya.